In the face of antitrust suits, could Facebook get more open source?
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, protecting small businesses with specialized coverages for commercial vehicles. More at progressivecommercial.com. And by Avalara, simplifying sales tax compliance with cloud-based solutions. Avalara automatically integrates with more than 700 of the most widely used ERP and e-commerce solutions. Avalara, tax compliance done right.
Facebook is pushing back against two sweeping lawsuits alleging the media and advertising company has acquired an illegal amount of market power, the view that it's a monopoly. The Federal Trade Commission and 46 states filed these cases yesterday. Eric Gordon is a professor at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business and joins us from Ann Arbor. Good morning.
Hello, David.
I mean, you have a career. You were an attorney, are an attorney specializing in antitrust. Do you see an open and shut case here?
This is not going to be open and shut. This is going to be a long fought battle with lots of twists and turns. And I don't think the government is going to get what it's asking for.
Well, why is it such a subtle thing to prove this kind of stuff?
We have to remember that these two acquisitions that the government complains about were acquisitions that were made quite some time ago, 6-8 years ago, actually in the Obama administration. And when the government looked at the acquisitions then, the government said, oh, okay, go ahead. Now they're saying, wait a minute, let's take it apart. It's going to be tough to get a court to go for that.
That is one of Facebook's contentions now. Hey, the regulators already said it was A-OK. So, I mean, the likelihood, Eric, that Facebook gets shattered like the old AT&T into smaller shards?
I don't think that's going to happen. For one thing, the AT&T breakup wasn't a success. When the government tried to break up Microsoft, it didn't succeed. So I don't think we're going to see Facebook broken up into little pieces. I don't think it's going to be broken up at all.
At all, but no remedy, no changes? I mean, you have nearly every state in the nation joining these lawsuits.
Well, there are other remedies besides breaking it up. For example, you could force Facebook to open its APIs. APIs are like the connections from the outside world into the guts of Facebook, particularly with the social graph. That's all of the connections Facebook knows about you and everybody else you talk to on Facebook. If Facebook has to open that up, then lots of people could compete with Facebook. And that would be a very powerful remedy without breaking the company up.
I mean, there is a new administration coming in. Will the Joe Biden team make a difference here?
You know, I think they'll make a difference in tone, but I can't imagine a Democratic president allowing himself to be positioned as softer on big business and antitrust than an outgoing Republican.
Eric Gordon was an antitrust attorney, but for years has been a professor at the University of Michigan's Ross School of Business. Always good to talk to you.
My pleasure, David.
Even more people signed up for unemployment benefits after new layoffs, 853,000 in the last week, well above forecasts. The S&P future is down 0.2%.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Omidyar Network, a social change venture that is reimagining how capitalism should work. Learn more about their efforts to recenter our economy around individuals, community, and societal well-being at omidyar.com. And by GEP, helping transform supply chains with strategies, services, and software, including GEP Smart and GEP Next, AI-based digital procurement and supply chain platforms. And by C3.ai. C3.ai software enables organizations to use artificial intelligence at enterprise scale, solving previously unsolvable business problems. Learn more at C3.ai.
As this banner year for awful wraps up, we can tell you it was the worst recorded for wildfires in the U.S., and fire becomes more likely with climate change. Molly Wood, the host of our program Marketplace Tech, has been looking at the business and technology of trying to adapt to climate change. Today, the business opportunity in fire-resistant living.
In Marin County, California, we found a house that was built specifically to be as fire resistant as possible in a forested canyon just north of San Francisco. Fanny Hansen is the architect.
And the fire marshal made actually the greatest compliment to me by coming and saying this is the house that it has to be a standard house because of fire resistance.
The only wood in the house is the floors.
Yeah, I created a vanity URL called builtforfiresafety.com.
Thomas Henthorn is the real estate agent who sold the house in fire-prone Northern California, and he said it's a popular selling point.
If there are homes that have fire resistant or fire safety features, that's definitely something that is marketable and something that is a marketing point.
The house in Marin County is a luxury home. It listed at around $4 million. It has an automated sprinkler system, solar panels, and a backup battery to power the house if the lights go out. But Hansen, the architect, says a house better built to withstand fires is easy to replicate for less money.
Because most of the parts are prefabricated. And now in architecture, to really be good, it is a combination of lots of parts. And those parts, if they're economical, the cost get reduced substantially.
And experts say fire resistance could become a selling point not just for houses, but entire housing developments as people keep encroaching on what used to be wildlands.
You cannot build any sort of structure that's going to have total 100% fire proofness against a wildfire event.
Kimiko Barrett is a research and policy analyst for Headwaters Economics. It's a nonpartisan research and policy think tank based in Bozeman, Montana. She says the goal is resiliency so that
when a wildfire does come through, you're buying not only yourself some time to collect your things and evacuate if needed, but also for firefighters to come in and suppress that fire and be very effective with the resources that they have.
Not every fire-safe house will have a pool, a sauna, or views of Northern California's famous mountain ranges. But Barrett says steel and cement are going to get a lot more common and can even be built to look like log cabins, just not the kind that go up in flames quite so easily. I'm Molly Wood for Marketplace.
You can hear more from Molly on the Marketplace special called How We Survive. It's streamable at marketplace.org/climate. I'm David Brancaccio. This is the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.
Support for WNYC comes from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation, dedicated to promoting informed and engaged communities and committed to helping public radio advance quality journalism in the digital age. More at knightfoundation.org.
This is WNYC New York. I'm David First. The BBC NewsHour is coming up next on 93.9 FM. It's The Takeaway next on AM 820. And later on the Brian Lehrer Show, it's the annual Shop Listener Holiday Shopping Guide, where listeners call in to tout their businesses and the gifts they have for sale. Plus, professor and New York Times contributor Michael Eric Dyson on his new book, Long Time Coming, Reckoning with Race in America. That's the Brian Lehrer Show coming up this morning at 10 o'clock here on WNYC. Right now, it is 42 degrees. It's 9 o'clock.
This is WNYC FM, HD, and AM New York.
Welcome to NewsHour from the BBC World Service. Hello, I'm James Menendez. Coming up, Facebook accuses US regulators of revisionism after they launched legal action against the company for stifling competition and threatened to break it up.
For nearly a decade, Facebook has used its dominance and monopoly power to crush smaller rivals and snuff out competition, all at the expense of everyday users.
Also today, a special investigation into the claims that Syrian fighters were recruited by Azerbaijan to fight its war against Armenia over Nagorno-Karabakh.
They told us our mission would be to serve as sentries on the border, as peacekeepers. They offered $2,000 a month. It felt like a fortune to us.
Plus, the nurses in the US exhausted by coronavirus and still without adequate protection. And how honeybees are using dung to protect their hives from giant hornets. All of that and more after the news.
BBC News with Sue Montgomery. The Lebanese judge investigating the devastating explosion in Beirut in August has charged the outgoing Prime Minister Hassan Diab and 3 other former ministers with negligence. Mr. Diab has said his conscience is clear. Our Arab Affairs editor Sebastian Usher reports.
These are the first politicians to be charged in the investigation into the immense blast in the port of Beirut, which killed more than 200 people, injured thousands, and left many more homeless. Along with Hassan Diab, the Lebanese Prime Minister at the time, who resigned immediately afterwards, the former Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil is one of 3 other top officials called in for questioning next week. A judicial source says that all have been accused of not taking necessary measures to prevent the blast, which was caused by an explosion in a warehouse that had for years held a huge store of ammonium nitrate.
The European